Hello everyone, welcome to this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. It's great to have you here with me today. We're watching the tropics, in particular this area in the central and western Gulf. We're going to see if anything comes out of that. There's actually a couple areas. The first one this week, and then there's another area next week as this kicks along a stalled frontal boundary to the west. But in particular, we're going to be watching a strong tropical wave come out of the Cape Verde region, and it's going to plow right across parts of the Caribbean and Caribbean islands as we head into the first week of August. And as we go into August, there is going to be a major increase in intertropical convergence zone activity out here into the MDR. And in the Western Pacific, we got two tropical storms, Kome and also watching Krosa. And as Cape Verde season heats up in the tropics as well as the Western Pacific, we are watching some big-time tropical moisture, some storm action, and these mesoscale convective systems running around this ring of fire. Let's get into it. And looking at our infrared satellite photo here, look at the big old mess of this tropical disturbance across the north-central Gulf. This is heading towards the rest of southeastern and southern Louisiana and eventually coastal Texas as we head throughout Friday, Saturday, and into early Sunday. And you can see it here on the three-dimensional infrared satellite view. There it is, progressing across the north central and northwestern Caribbean, those high cloud tops. Heading across the rest of the Caribbean here, you can see we have a strong tropical wave that's providing moisture for Trinidad and Tobago. Look at this moisture across the eastern Caribbean. Also some thunderstorm cloud tops around Honduras through Jamaica here. And looking out into the MDR here, look at this. We got a very strong tropical wave just right in this area. We're going to be watching also a few other tropical waves, but I want to show you this one. It's literally right off our screen there. This is going to be a massive tropical wave as it exits throughout this weekend. Starting off with our mesoscale model here in the Gulf of our tropical disturbance. We're going to continue to watch this very broad area of low pressure continue towards the west here. You can see the spinning nature of these showers and thunderstorms. Quite a conglomeration as we head through 8 a.m. on Friday. You can see all the way up through the Florida Panhandle, southeastern Louisiana, Gulf Coast of Mississippi, Alabama, and even coastal Texas getting in on it through 1 p.m. on Friday. Look at this. You can sense that spin. Very large area of low pressure. However, it just seems to be moving too fast for any rapid development at this point, but we're going to watch through 10 a.m. on Saturday here. We just zoom out just a tad. You can see Louisiana starts getting targeted by this, but we'll watch this for any further development. It's got a low risk at this point, right around 10 and 10% through 2 to 7 days. All right, so what you've been waiting for here, the GFS, and then I'll show you the Euro in a couple minutes. We're going to be going over what likely could potentially become our next tropical storm here. All right, so starting off here with the tropics, we're going to be looking at our Gulf system. That's going to continue to spin, obviously, as I showed you on the mesoscale model. On the GFS, it tries to flare up here through Friday evening and then provides Texas with quite a bit of rain here, as well as Louisiana into the weekend. You can see not much fanfare with it, though, beyond this weekend as we get, some moisture here from the east. Now, we're going to turn our attention to the MDR out here. So let's start here with Friday. We have a few areas that we're going to be watching here. Now, watch these really closely as we head through the weekend into the 26th. This little piece of convection here, it may look small, but it is packing a punch, and I would not be surprised now that the GFS is really picking up on this, that this tries to become our next spin up here. And could it become a tropical storm next week? It's starting to potentially look that way. If it does, it would be a very small tropical storm. Now, look what's happening behind it here. You have two very large tropical waves. So we're going to watch those for some potential development as well. This area through Belize, that's heading towards, transferring its energy to the Eastern Pacific. But here you go. Let me just back this system up. If this system, as small as it is, heads right over the Dominican Republic, that could potentially become a graveyard for it because of the mountainous terrain. However, it does get on the other side and it does refire here into the Bahamas. And as you can see, we head through the 31st. It's looking like it's holding together. Now watch up here. We have this, there's that stalled front sitting across the Carolinas. the last day of July here. Look at this. This could be some sort of tropical system continuing here into the eastern Gulf, and conditions become much more favorable here August 2nd and August 3rd. You can see this thing really start to explode here into the north central Gulf as it approaches the southeast Louisiana coast. Now, don't read too much into this, especially this far out. You know, the margin of error can be great with these type of systems, especially a small system like this, whose path can be changed greatly just by subtle movements of the highs and low pressure systems. But this does so a landfalling hurricane and along the north central Gulf coast here, just into southeastern Louisiana around August 5th. And there it is, slowly moving inland around New Orleans, picking up tremendous tropical moisture. So, with that in mind, let's kick back behind our wave here out into the MDR. You can see our next wave trying to flare up here as it approaches the Lesser Antilles. This looks like a much bigger circulation as it moves through Barbados here and Martinique. And as you can see, it moves into the Eastern Caribbean through August 3rd and August 4th. This one takes a more southerly route as it approaches Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, and eventually Honduras and Belize here. Really tries to spin up here into something into the northwestern Caribbean before heading westward. And we may get some energy try to come out here into the Gulf. And look at behind it. This next tropical wave looks very vigorous as well. This is August 8th. You can see it here moving through the Lesser Antilles here on our last frame. And also, I wanted to bring you over here to Africa. Look at this massive wave getting ready to move off here right around August 8th. So this is going to be the intertropical convergence zone, really lining these storms up as we go over the next couple weeks. Look at the activity coming off of Central Africa here. It is really, really intense. And 1 second before we switch over to the Euro, I do want to show you something next week. Look at this right around the 29th. We get a flare up. This is on the tail end of that front, right around the Florida Panhandle, and it looks like a carbon copy, maybe even a little bit stronger of an area of low pressure moving into Louisiana and eastern Texas again. So I just wanted to throw that out there in front of our main tropical system. We may have a spin up that may actually try to become a tropical storm as well next week. We'll keep an eye on it here. Here's the Euro. Thanks to Tropical Tidbits here for our European tropical model analysis. As we kick off Friday here, the 25th, there is our system here into the north central and western Gulf. We also have another tropical wave moving through the northwestern Caribbean here, providing Jamaica, Cayman Islands, and parts of Central America through Belize and Honduras with some shower and thunderstorm action. Also off the screen here, coming on the screen, we have a large tropical wave that's going to be flaring up through Saturday here. You can see heavy downpours also continuing across parts of Central America here. Also, our wave across the western Gulf and north central Gulf is just going to continue to flare up here with copious tropical moisture heading inland here through this Sunday. Now, look at here around the Lesser Antilles. This is where we start to see some big tropical wave action. Also, watch out the southeastern Bahamas here. Something's getting flaring up here from time to time, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. Trinidad, Tobago, your day looks to be early Monday morning with some strong showers and thunderstorm action. Also, another tropical wave here east of Honduras, right around Jamaica as well, with some heavier downpours through Tuesday into Wednesday as this actually drifts slowly to the north-northeast here. Now, watch this as we head through July 30th. That energy from Central America moves into the Eastern Pacific. And what starts to happen here, we still have that old frontal boundary just hanging out right here. So that's going to try to start flaring up something across the Gulf again. Also, all eyes are going to be on this. This could likely be our next tropical storm. We'll be watching it here August 1st. We have plenty of time to watch this. But look at this. This looks very formidable as it heads through the northern Lesser Antilles, the Virgin Islands, and into the area of Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic. The margin of error could be like this great in here. So watch out. There's quite a cone of uncertainty with this, but it looks like the strongest tropical wave we've seen so far, and it moves into the southeastern Bahamas here through Monday into Tuesday, where it kind of just hangs out for a while because there isn't much steering currents. We're also watching some flare up here, continuing into the north central Gulf. There's our system east of the Bahamas, likely potentially a tropical storm by this point. Also watching the eastern Caribbean as well. Things actually dry here into the northwestern Caribbean. But here we go. Through August 6th into the 7th, you can see the stalled frontal boundary just continuing. You just got to watch this time of year because that's where you can get those spin-ups. Also, the intertropical convergence zone southeast of the Lesser Antilles continues to bubble up here, and also a tropical wave making it just west of Jamaica here. So I wanted to pan out here. I wanted to show you the intertropical convergence zone. So this wave action that's really going to take effect out here. This is Monday and Tuesday of next week. Watch what starts to happen here. It's right in this area, just southwest of the Cape Verde Islands. You can see a low pressure does try to initialize here. We also have a few more waves, this one in particular off the Cape Verde Islands here, African coast. And look at that. Yeah, that could be quite a formidable storm as it rounds the bends here and then moves up near the east coast. So all eyes are going to be on this. Look at this. It kind of gets, the moisture gets entrained north along the east coast. So there's something we're going to have to keep a very close watch on. And then look at through the 8th here. There is some major tropical wave action out here in the MDR. And sea surface temperature analysis here. It's going crazy off the U.S. East Coast and the north central part of the Gulf. Also the Eastern Caribbean here, right around the Lesser Antilles. And things are starting to warm up here in the Cape Verde Tropical Wave Highway. So on the CANSIPS model, I wanted to show you what the latest is looking like for August. So the Eastern and North Central Gulf, even parts of the Western Gulf, but in particular the Caribbean and Cape Verde areas and up the East Coast. These are the areas where we're seeing surging tropical moisture with high concentrations of tropical waves and potentially tropical storms and hurricanes. And our rainfall amounts here across the Western Caribbean. Look at this. So as we head through the weekend here, it's mainly Central America. You'll get some showers here across Jamaica. Not too much, though. They're looking about 10, 11, close to 25 millimeters here. Same for the Cayman Islands and the Dominican Republic. But here's where things really start to get much wetter. As we head through that first week of August, right around August 8th, you can see, look at the surge of moisture. Belize, 200, 300 millimeters. Honduras here. And then look at Jamaica. Yeah, some of these areas could approach 85, 90 millimeters. Widespread. Cayman Islands, much less, 25, 35 millimeters. Dominican Republic, a little bit less as well, averaging out to about 40 to 70 millimeters. Puerto Rico, you're looking at about half to 3/4 of an inch on average. Now, if I take a look at the Western Caribbean here on our GFS run, you can see Central America, that surge of moisture through August 1st here. Jamaica, Dominican Republic, look at this. This showing that tropical storm potential running right over Dominican Republic with torrential rains upwards of 135, 150 millimeters through the Bahamas and South Florida Keys here. So watch out. Depending on where that moves, it could be quite a bit. Look at Jamaica, upwards of 90 to 125 millimeters in some areas. Cayman Islands, right around 40 millimeters. Look at Belize, though, 500 millimeters. Northeastern Honduras, 300 millimeters. That's tremendous rainfall. Even Puerto Rico getting around 3 to 5 inches out of this. And here we go for the Eastern Caribbean. This is going to be tropical wave central here. Tropical wave highway is going to open up big time. Look at this. This takes us through Tuesday, and then watch this into next weekend, into the first week of August. Look at this surge of moisture. You can see many of the areas, Trinidad, Tobago, would not be surprised, 75 to 100 millimeters all the way up the island chain here. Even more rain for the Virgin Islands here. Some of you may be getting closer to 60 to 80 millimeters here, so much more than you've seen as of late with this surge, this big tropical wave that's going to traverse here into the first week of August. As we head into the Eastern Caribbean with our GFS run, there is our potential tropical storm, our disturbance, whatever that's going to be over the next several days to 2 weeks. Well, watch it here really closely because some of these areas where it does move through the islands here, Lesser Antilles, we could be seeing upwards of 125, 150 millimeters very easily. And looking at the Eastern Pacific here, Pacific side, what is going on? Nothing very much until about the middle to latter portion of next week. We do start to see some sort of fish storm come together out here. Thankfully, it remains out to sea, but it could become a major hurricane. And we see another spin up here south of El Salvador. That's going to parallel the coast. It looks like it's going to be much closer to the Mexican coastline, though. So we'll have to keep an eye on it here. All right, so looking across the Western Pacific, we are watching right on the North Philippine coastline here. Tropical storm Kome, likely to retain this tropical storm status as it moves up just east of Taiwan. We actually have another tropical storm Francisco here that we were kind of missing in action just east of China here. That's going to be moving towards South China. Look at our next tropical storm out here, Krosa. That system's going to be heading just east of Japan. So we got a very busy scenario out here. Look at the central and southern Philippines, though. No rain. Also, South Korea, Seoul, the Korean Peninsula, no rain. Much of Japan, no rain, except the southern Japanese islands here. Now, that storm could become a typhoon over here, Typhoon Krosa, by this point in a couple days. That's going to stay, it looks like, east of Japan. This system, Tropical Storm Kome, just kind of meanders and falls apart out here, and the remnants of Francisco will be well inland across China. So as you can see, northern Philippines continues to get hit, southeast and eastern China near Shanghai. We do start to get a surge of moisture, maybe eventually up towards just the western Korean peninsula here. But for the most part, it looks like we remain dry. Looking for typhoons here, this next system just south of the Philippines, south and east, looks pretty menacing. Also, this area out here on the August 1st time frame here. So we're going to continue to watch it. Things look very active out here in the Western Pacific. Look at Japan, though. Second, the third. We do get a cold front moving through Seoul, South Korea around the third, however. That moves northeast of Japan. You can see all of these typhoons continuing to move and recurve away from Japan. Another system could be affecting northern Philippines and Taiwan here as we head through August 6th. Look at the southern and central Philippines, though. Staying pretty dry. Northern Philippines, monsoon moisture kicking in. Taiwan, you're going to be socked in with it as well. We do start to see evidence this pattern will break down, though. In Japan, we'll likely start seeing more surges in tropical moisture around August 9th. All right, so the Western Pacific rainfall. Yeah, northern Philippines, you're the king of it, but you know what? You're used to that. That's what you normally get. Look at Taiwan as well. That's a tremendous amount of rain. Japanese islands. You're going to be okay here until, let's get a timestamp here, getting into that, towards that second week of August, you do start to moisten up here, where you get totals closer to 175, 250 millimeters here across the southern Japanese islands. Also here into Taiwan, 800 millimeters in the southern edge as well as the northern Philippines here. Look at the South Korea, almost nothing. South China, Southeast China, lots of rain, 300 to 400 millimeters. So as we continue through the evening hours into the overnight for your Friday morning, obviously all eyes are going to be on our system here in the Gulf. We're going to continue to watch that pinwheel as I showed you in the tropical update. Showers and thunderstorms continuing along the Gulf Coast regions from the panhandle of Florida all the way to coastal Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. So as we continue northward here, yeah, look at this. Through 10 p.m. Thursday evening, we got these lines of showers and thunderstorms here. We have this batch back here. Also, these are mainly heading to the northeast. Now, watch what starts to happen. Here's our 8 a.m. time frame on Friday. Look at Indiana here. We see an explosion of showers and thunderstorms. These do kind of crop up into more individual cell-type cellular storms. As we head through 4 p.m., you can see all along Interstate 80 in Pennsylvania through eastern Ohio, here central Ohio. We're going to see those thunderstorms line up even for New York City right around the 7 p.m. hour. So there you have it. Rush hour time. Now, look what starts to happen. This is 2 a.m. on Saturday morning. Look what's really happening here. Eastern Ohio, you got a complex of thunderstorms, but most importantly, look at this here. This is quite a big area of shower and thunderstorm action as we head through 8 a.m., 10 a.m. on Saturday morning, the 26th. You can see this could be a very strong line of thunderstorms making it into north central and northeast Ohio here, right in the Cleveland area for 2 p.m. on Saturday. So yeah, here it is. And look what we start to see here across the mid-Atlantic. Some of these individual cellular type thunderstorms, some of these could really pack a punch here. Look at western parts of Maryland, northern Virginia, western Virginia here, even up into southern New Jersey. All right, so I didn't want to leave something out here. There is actually going to be a quick blast of storms here into parts of the Northeast. The HRRR hinting at it up and through Maine, parts of eastern New England here. Look at what could fire up here. So yeah, this looks like quite cellular back here, but this looks pretty linear. And we could have a very strong line of storms form across eastern parts of New England between 3 and 5 p.m. on your Friday afternoon. So watch out. That could be quite a strong, damaging line of storms. So for your Friday severe weather here, we're actually going to be looking at these marginal risk here across parts of the Northeast into New England. And looking at your Saturday, marginal risk shifts back here to the west here into parts of Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, and Michigan. I would not be surprised if this is upgraded to a slight risk. So for the GFS, picking up where our future radar left off, we're going to go right into the weekend here, right around, we can see as we go on into Saturday. Here's Saturday into, look at that mesoscale convective system across Ontario. So Sunday, yeah, this is going to be a stormy day here. I'll show you this on the Euro as well. We're going to have those mesoscale convective systems kick across here. But yeah, watch out. We could have some showers and thunderstorms, some with damaging wind, large hail. Look at this complex up here moving across Michigan. It does kind of fizzle out. Through the 28th, you can see we get this moisture. Wow, look at this across Wisconsin. This one we're going to have to keep a very close watch on as well as it moves across Michigan and northern Ohio. It does kind of weaken and try to refire. But here around the 30th, we see another one trying to refire. Classic ring of fire. Look at this, though. We get maybe some sort of flare-up here, the 29th into the 30th across the Gulf, so that's something we'll have to keep a very close watch on. So there you have it. Look at that. So I showed you that in the tropical update. Now look at here into the 30th. Showers and thunderstorms progressing across the Carolinas here. And then we see the surge of moisture the 31st. High pressure really does start to build in, though. There's going to be kind of like a trough up here to the northeast. On the northeast side of this high, it's going to help supply this cooler air. And tropical moisture just continues through the 2nd into the 3rd. There we're watching all eyes on our potential tropical system here. We'll keep an eye on that very closely. We got plenty of time to watch that, actually. Now, look at here, diving southward across the Great Lakes and the Northeast. This is quite a big surge of moisture ahead of this cold front. This is quite a big cold front for this time of year. And look at this. This could spark off some serious severe weather here across the mid-Atlantic as it moves quickly off the coast. So that's definitely going to bring a cool Canadian air mass. Well, all eyes will be in the Gulf Coast, see what happens with our potential tropical system, and then yeah, tropical moisture will reign supreme here across the east. All right, so starting off with the Euro, where our future radar left off. Look at the storminess on Saturday morning across northern Ohio, Indiana, parts of Michigan here. As we continue through time, that storminess is going to continue into Pennsylvania, Ohio, New York State. And look at that. Yeah, as we head through Sunday, it is going to be a really stormy time of it up here into parts of the Ohio Valley, Great Lakes, Eastern Great Lakes, and Northeast. Big lines of storms heading towards the I-95 corridor for mid to late afternoon into the early evening hours. That pushes off the coast. And then we start to see Monday the 28th here. Look at this big mesoscale convective system up here into Ontario and Quebec. That is a big one. That's going to move southward. Look at this for Tuesday. This could move into western New York, southern Ontario, into eastern Ohio and western Pennsylvania. Watch out. This could be a very long-lived one that moves into northern Virginia all the way down into parts of the Outer Banks here. So watch out. That could be a very large mesoscale convective system. Now look at here. Moisture does start to come together across the southeast. We also have some more storminess, mesoscale convective systems. Now, as we head through Thursday next week, July 31st, you can see another storm system moving through parts of the northeast, also the mid-Atlantic here into parts of the southeast. We get some overrunning precipitation out here, but here it is. Through August 1st, look at where the moisture is going to be. Right across the southeast here with this big old trough. This old frontal boundary that's going to become the focal point. Look at, there's our big tropical wave off the screen. So we're going to watch for some of this moisture, but all eyes are going to be on what comes out of the Caribbean and the Cape Verde area. Look at here, though, for Tuesday, August 5th. A massive surge of tropical moisture right up the coastline here. We're going to watch out for that. Also, tropical wave here heading into the Gulf. Now, I just want to back this up. Look at this. This is August 7th. Look at these mesoscale convective systems here. This classic ring of fire. There it is. August 8th. We're in this classic summertime weather pattern. All right, so our precipitation. Heavy rain. Midwest, Ohio Valley, Great Lakes. 1 to as much as 2.5 inches out of this. Look at the north central Gulf Coast with our potential spin up here, our tropical wave, tropical disturbance. And then as we head through next weekend, late next weekend, there's another tropical wave that moves into the north central Gulf, western Gulf, towards Texas and Louisiana. And look at the Midwest here through Ohio Valley. This is where the storm track's going to be. You can see 2 to 5 inches, locally higher amounts to 8 inches in some of these areas, 4 inches. So you get the idea. Lots of rain. And then look at the Gulf Coast area. Some of these areas could be getting, let's see our pointer here, upwards of 6, 7, 8 inches of rain. And for our GFS model here, our latest run showing heavy rain along the Gulf Coast there, north central and western Gulf Coast. Yeah, we'll just stop it right there because there's something, you know, obviously with later on August 3rd and 4th. But there it is across the Ohio Valley, Midwest, 1 to 2, maybe 3 inches. Coastal Carolinas looking upwards of 4 to 6 inches here the first week of August. Look at there, south central Louisiana. Some areas getting upwards of 7 inches. Now this is showing that landfalling hurricane across southeastern Louisiana. If that were to occur, this would be really devastating. Don't read too much into this, though. This is 20 to 30 inches of rain total. And before we continue with more weather coverage, don't forget, if you like the video, smash that like button, everyone. It really does help. Thanks for making it this far in the video. Question or comment down below. I'd love to read your questions or comments and respond to them. Subscribe if you haven't already. Subscribe, bell notification button, so you're alerted with all my future weather video updates. And don't forget, if you haven't watched my 2025 Hurricane Outlook, it's a link in the description down below and at the end of this video. Let's continue. All right, so our upper air weather pattern here for North America, that death ridge, that heat dome just continues all the way through the weekend. And look at, unfortunately, it starts to increase over the Midwest here through Sunday, Monday. It does try to spill eastward, but very little movement with that. It kind of consolidates in this area right here. So that's where the heat's really going to focus. As this trough, this is Tuesday the 29th. Look at this. This is going to exert its influence, start to at least along the U.S. East Coast, especially the Northeast, and that is going to usher in some much cooler air. Some areas will be seeing highs only in the 70s, and look at that. Through the first week of August, that troughiness is going to continue here and help out with breaking this heat wave along the East Coast. And your NAO index here, we are going slightly positive here, so that would normally have a quieter impact on our weather across the east coast of North America into the western Atlantic. And our MJO index here, yeah, it's kind of the opposite of the NAO index. We're going from 6 into 7 and 8 and eventually 1 as we head through mid-August here. So yeah, things are going to be getting more active according to the MJO, especially into the first and second week of August. And our Canadian weather outlook here, look at this as we head into Friday into the weekend. The only areas of rain here, British Columbia, parts of southern Alberta, northern Ontario, and the Canadian Maritimes. Now, as we head into the weekend, obviously, Ontario, it's your turn, southern Ontario, for showers and thunderstorms, maybe some mesoscale convective systems here. Now, as we continue in time, look at this Pacific system winding up off the coast of British Columbia. I want to draw your attention, though, to the 27th. Look at this mesoscale convective system. Actually, 2 of them getting cranking here across Ontario and eventually Quebec as we head on into the 28th. That pushes to the south, could have some very bad storms with damaging wind, large hail. Mesoscale convective system moving through Montreal, Quebec City here. Also, watch this firing in the United States. That could head over into Ontario as well. I want to look at this. High pressure building across the prairies. This actually isn't great news because you need some relief from these wildfires. But Quebec seems to be getting all your rain over here, along with New Brunswick, Nova Scotia. These areas, as this low pressure really winds up, this is going to be a massive bombing area of low pressure. Look what's happening behind it, though. We do get some showers and thunderstorms firing across Ontario, also Alberta, southern British Columbia here. So as we go through the second, the third, look at this big old area of low pressure. Could spark a severe weather outbreak across central Ontario and Quebec. High pressure building in behind it before another big cold front. This is going to be the start of a massive pattern change here. This upper level low across Hudson Bay is going to pinwheel areas of upper level lows southward across Ontario, Quebec, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland here, and all the Canadian Maritimes. So watch out. This is going to be a massive pattern change, and you will see cooler conditions, also more showerier conditions as well. Now look at this through Alberta, the 9th. That's some great news, getting some heavy rain and some thunder showers. There you have it. And for Canada here, let's see how much rain you're looking at. So initially it looks pretty dry, with the exception for Southeast Canada and the West Coast. But look at this. As we head through the end of July into the beginning of August, we're really going to start to see big moisture surges here across eastern Canada, but also up here. This will help the wildfire situation up here, especially in northern central Alberta. Look at the West Coast, too, upwards of 100 millimeters. Many areas getting 40 to as much as 80 millimeters here in the prairies and the Rockies. And then look at up here, Ontario, Quebec, and New Brunswick here. Many of these areas getting close to 90, 120 millimeters of rainfall. So here we are with temperatures. That's going to be the big story as we head into your Friday, July 25th here. Look at these mid to upper 90s all the way up the I-95 corridor here. Even some 90s through parts of the Ohio Valley into the Northeast and Great Lakes region. Texas is baking here into the 100s. Now as we get through the weekend here, it pulls back a little bit in the Northeast here in the Ohio Valley, Great Lakes, upper 80s. Still high humidity, though. Look at these 100s through parts of the Carolinas. This is going to be baking type weather. Look at that. That is crazy amount. And as we head into Sunday here, look what's going to be happening. More baking continuing here as we continue through time. You can see Monday here, July 28th. We're just continuing with these very high temperatures. Surging to the north here. Look at these 90s getting back into the Northeast, unfortunately, for your Monday. And look at Tuesday here. We start to see evidence of some cooling here, 70s and even right around 80 in the upper Midwest. Look at these hundreds throughout parts of the South, 90s into the Northeast. But watch what happens Wednesday. Ooh, look at that, 70s. And that's starting to spill into the Northeast. Extended forecast from our hometown viewers, bringing it into this Grand Upper Susquehanna River Valley, New York, and Pennsylvania. Friday, we're going to have showers and thunderstorms moving in late morning, afternoon hours. Maybe an isolated severe, but it's mainly a flash flood threat. Highs will be getting up towards 90 into Friday night and Saturday. We start to taper that off, maybe just a stray shower thunderstorm on Saturday up near 90 again into Sunday. We continue with that hazy, hot, and humid conditions with a chance of showers and thunderstorms really coming in with a vengeance. This is the day I think we could see that slight risk of damaging wind, large hail. So watch out. Severe weather day, Sunday into Sunday night. And then Monday, mostly sunny, but very hot into Tuesday as well. We start to break the heat by Wednesday into Thursday. Plenty more weather to come. Here is a look at my affiliate. Check out these awesome, amazing maps. I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than trilogymaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code. As always, thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Also, don't forget to join me on Facebook at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Twitter at Weather Eastern. Don't forget it's MeteoMark.com, and don't forget, if you want to send me a coffee, there is a link, super thanks. You can smash that super thanks button or my PayPal link in the description down below. You can buy me a cup of coffee. Thanks everyone, share that video, subscribe if you haven't, smash that like button.